Before you scroll away, listen carefully. Archangel Michael says there is a reason this message found you today, and it is not the reason you think. You may have come here looking for encouragement. You may have come searching for answers. Or maybe you simply felt guided to click on this video without fully understanding why. But Michael says this is not a coincidence. Because something happened today that touched the heart of God. Not a huge achievement. Not a perfect decision. Not a moment that attracted attention from other people. In fact, it may have happened during a moment you have already forgotten. Something you did in the last 24 hours was seen clearly in heaven, and God does not want you to overlook it. If you've been wondering whether you're doing enough, if you've been questioning your spiritual growth, if you've secretly feared that God might be disappointed in you, then stay with me until the end of this message. Because Archangel Michael is about to reveal why God smiled at you today, what heaven noticed about your heart, and why your journey is much more beautiful than you realize. And before this message is over, you may see yourself through God's eyes in a way you never have before. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and listen carefully, because this message was meant to find you. Chosen one, Archangel Michael stands beside you today with a message that carries warmth, reassurance, and a truth your heart may need more than you realize. The first thing Michael wants you to understand is this: God is not looking at your life the way you are. You have been looking at what is missing. God has been looking at what is growing. You have been focusing on how far you still have to go. God has been celebrating how far you have already come. And today, heaven noticed something that brought joy to the Father's heart. The reason this is important is because many chosen ones have become experts at seeing their flaws while remaining blind today. Our progress. You notice every mistake, every delay, every weakness, every moment where you feel like you could have done better. But heaven sees a completely different picture. Heaven sees someone who continues showing up, someone who continues trying, someone who continues reaching toward God even during seasons when life feels heavy. Michael says there are moments in your life that seem ordinary on earth but extraordinary in heaven. Today contained one of those moments. Perhaps it happened when you chose patience instead of frustration. Perhaps it happened when you decided not to respond negatively to someone who tested your peace. Perhaps it happened when you fought against an old habit. Perhaps it happened when you kept moving forward despite feeling exhausted. Or perhaps it happened during a quiet moment when you whispered a simple prayer that nobody else heard. Whatever it was, heaven noticed. And what makes this so beautiful is that you probably didn't even realize it mattered. That is often how spiritual growth works. The greatest transformations rarely announce themselves. They happen quietly, little by little, decision by decision, day by day. You don't suddenly wake up and realize you've changed. Instead, one day you respond differently than you would have a year ago. One day you choose peace where you once chose anger. One day you choose faith where you once chose fear. One day you choose wisdom where you once chose impulse. And while those moments may seem small, heaven recognizes them immediately. Michael says many chosen ones are waiting for some giant sign from God while God is already celebrating the evidence of his work inside them. You have been praying for growth. You have been praying for strength. You have been praying for wisdom. And what if part of the answer to those prayers is already visible in the way you live your daily life? What if the reason God smiled today is because he sees those prayers becoming reality? Think about that for a moment. The things you once struggled with constantly may no longer have the same power over you. The situations that once completely overwhelmed you may now only shake you temporarily. The fears that once controlled your thoughts may no longer define your decisions. That is growth, and heaven sees it. Michael wants you to understand something important. God is not only watching the major events of your life, he is watching the condition of your heart. He notices your intentions. He notices your efforts. He notices the private battles nobody else knows exist. The world often rewards visible success. Heaven values faithfulness. The world notices trophies. Heaven notices transformation. The world applauds performance. Heaven celebrates sincerity. That means some of your greatest victories have happened in complete silence. No audience, no applause, no recognition. Just you, God, and a decision that moved you closer to the person He created you to become. Today was one of those days. Michael says there are angels who have witnessed your journey from a perspective you cannot see. They have seen the prayers you prayed through tears. They have seen the moments you nearly gave up. They have seen the times you felt weak but continued moving forward anyway. And because they see the entire journey, they understand something you often forget. You are stronger than you think. You are growing more than you realize. You are healing more than you know. Many chosen ones assume growth should feel dramatic. But most of the time, growth feels ordinary while it is happening. A tree does not hear itself growing. A sunrise does not hear itself arriving. A seed does not feel itself becoming a flower. Yet growth is still taking place. The same is true for you. Even during the days when you feel stuck. Even during the days when progress seems invisible. Even during the days when you question whether anything is changing. God sees growth. Michael says today's message is heaven's reminder that your efforts matter. Your prayers matter. Your faithfulness matters. Your quiet acts of obedience matter. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is ignored. Nothing is forgotten. The kindness you showed. The patience you practiced. The temptation you resisted. The fear you pushed through. The hope you held on to. Heaven saw it all. And because heaven saw it all, God smiled. Not because you were perfect. Not because you had all the answers. Not because you accomplished everything you wanted. But because your heart continued moving toward Him. And that, chosen one, is what truly matters. As this message continues, Archangel Michael will reveal the specific quality inside you that brought joy to heaven today, and why it is preparing you for something greater than you can currently imagine. Chosen one, Archangel Michael says there is something you need to understand before moving forward. The reason God smiled at you today was not because of something everyone could see. It was because of something only heaven fully understood. There was a choice you made. Quiet choice, a hidden choice, a choice that may have lasted only a few seconds. Yet, in the spiritual realm, it carried tremendous weight. Many people believe their lives are defined by major decisions. The job they take, the city they move to, the relationships they enter, the opportunities they accept. Those decisions certainly matter. But Michael says some of the most important decisions you ever make happen in moments nobody notices. Moments that seem insignificant. Moments that never become stories. Moments that pass so quickly you barely remember them. And today, one of those moments revealed something beautiful about your heart. Perhaps you chose patience when frustration wanted control. Perhaps you chose compassion when judgment felt easier. Perhaps you chose faith when fear was speaking louder. Perhaps you chose to keep going when every emotion told you to stop. Whatever the situation was, heaven recognized it immediately, because every time you choose God's way over your old way, a spiritual victory takes place. Many chosen ones underestimate the power of these decisions. They assume growth only counts when it produces visible results. But Michael says heaven often measures growth differently. Heaven pays attention to direction. Heaven notices movement. Heaven sees the small choices that slowly shape a person's character. Think about a river. A river does not change its course in a single moment. It changes through countless small movements over time. Eventually, those movements create an entirely different path. The same is happening in your life. Every time you choose peace instead of chaos, you change your direction. Every time you choose forgiveness instead of bitterness, you change your direction. Every time you choose trust instead of fear, you change your direction. And heaven celebrates every step. The reason God is pleased with you today is because He sees where your choices are leading. You may still see weaknesses. You may still notice areas where you need growth. But God sees a heart that keeps turning toward Him. And that matters more than you realize. Michael says there was a season when certain struggles would have controlled you completely. Certain situations would have overwhelmed you. Certain emotions would have dictated your actions. But now something is different. You may not be perfect. You may still have difficult days. You may still wrestle with old thoughts from time to time. Yet there is a growing strength inside you, a growing wisdom, a growing awareness of God's presence. And heaven sees it clearly. Sometimes you become discouraged because you compare yourself to an ideal version of who you think you should be. You look at your life and think, I should be further by now. I should be stronger by now. I should have overcome this already. But Michael says God is not comparing you to some imaginary version of yourself. He is looking at the real journey. He sees every obstacle you have faced. He sees every burden you have carried. He sees every challenge you have survived. And because he sees the full picture, he understands how much progress you have actually made. Imagine climbing a mountain through thick fog. From where you stand, it feels like you haven't moved very far. You cannot clearly see the distance behind you. You only see the road ahead. But someone viewing the mountain from above sees something completely different. They see how far you have climbed. They see the ground you have already covered. They see the obstacles you have already overcome. Michael says heaven has that perspective. God sees the entire mountain. And today he smiled because of how far you have come. One of the enemy's greatest strategies is convincing people that their progress doesn't matter. If he cannot stop your growth, he will try to make you ignore it. If he cannot defeat your faith, he will try to make you underestimate it. If he cannot pull you away from God, he will try to make you believe you are failing. But heaven disagrees with that story. Heaven sees evidence of transformation everywhere in your life. Maybe you recover faster after difficult moments. Maybe you pray sooner than you used to. Maybe you recognize negative patterns more quickly. Maybe you no longer stay trapped in discouragement for as long as before. These things matter. These things count. These things reveal growth. Michael wants you to hear this clearly. God is not waiting for perfection before he delights in you. He delights in seeing his children grow. Think about a loving parent teaching a child to walk. The parent does not celebrate only when the child runs. The parent celebrates every step, every effort, every attempt, every moment of courage. Why? Because each step represents growth. Each step represents progress. Each step points towards something greater. That is how God looks at you. He sees your effort. He sees your faith. He sees your persistence. And he rejoices over every step you take toward him. Chosen one, there is another reason heaven is pleased today. You did not allow your circumstances to completely determine your heart. Life has not been easy. There have been disappointments. There have been delays. There have been moments when answers seemed distant. Moments when you felt misunderstood. Moments when you wondered if your prayers were making any difference at all. Yet despite everything, something inside you kept reaching for God. Something inside you refused to completely give up. Something inside you continued believing that your story was not over. Michael says that perseverance touched heaven today. Not because it was loud, not because it was dramatic, but because it was real. The world often celebrates dramatic displays of strength. Heaven celebrates quiet endurance, the ability to keep going, the willingness to keep believing, the courage to continue trusting God when circumstances don't immediately improve. And that courage has been visible in your life. Perhaps not every day, perhaps not perfectly, but consistently enough that heaven has taken notice. Today was another example of that courage, another example of faith, another example of growth. And Michael says this is only the beginning, because the same heart that touched heaven today is being prepared for blessings, opportunities, and breakthroughs that are closer than you think. The reason God smiled is not only because of who you are today. It is because he sees who you are becoming. And in the next part, Michael will reveal why heaven sees a transformation in you that you may still be struggling to recognize yourself. Chosen one, Archangel Michael says there is something beautiful happening within you that you may not fully recognize yet. You have spent so much time looking at what still needs to change that you have overlooked what has already changed. But heaven has not overlooked it. God has been watching your journey carefully, not with disappointment, not with frustration, but with love, with patience, and with pride. Michael says one of the biggest mistakes chosen ones make is assuming that growth means never struggling again. That is not how transformation works. Growth does not mean the battle disappears. Growth means you respond differently when the battle appears. A year ago, certain situations might have completely overwhelmed you. Certain thoughts might have controlled your peace. Certain disappointments might have stolen your hope. But look at yourself now. You may still feel the pressure. You may still face challenges. Yet something inside you has become stronger. Something inside you has become wiser. Something inside you has learned how to return to God faster than before. And heaven sees that. Michael says God is especially pleased with your willingness to keep getting back up. Because many people quit after a setback. Many people allow one difficult season to define their future. But you kept moving. You kept praying. You kept believing. Even when your faith felt small. Even when your energy felt low. Even when your emotions were working against you. That persistence has not gone unnoticed. In fact, it is one of the reasons heaven is smiling over your life today. God sees the moments nobody else sees. The moments when you corrected your attitude. The moments when you chose kindness. The moments when you resisted negativity. The moments when you turned back toward Him instead of turning away. Those moments matter more than you realize. Michael wants you to understand something important. God is not focused on the one mistake you keep replaying in your mind. He is looking at the countless times you chose faith over fear. He is looking at the prayers you whispered when nobody was around. He is looking at the courage it took to continue moving forward. You see the areas where you still need growth. God sees the areas where growth is already happening. And because He sees the full picture, His perspective is very different from yours. Chosen one, heaven is not celebrating perfection. Heaven is celebrating progress. The fact that your heart remains open. The fact that you still care. The fact that you still seek God even when life becomes confusing. That alone reveals how much you have grown. Michael says there is a reason this message is reaching you today. You needed a reminder. A reminder that your efforts matter. A reminder that your journey matters. A reminder that God is far more pleased with your progress than you realize. So stop measuring yourself only by what is left to accomplish. Take a moment to recognize how far you have already come. Because heaven certainly has. And God is smiling not only because of where you are, but because of the person you are becoming. In the next part, Michael will reveal what heaven sees in you that you still struggle to see in yourself, and why your current season is preparing you for something greater than you imagine. Chosen one, Archangel Michael says there is a reason many people become discouraged during seasons of growth. It is because they see their lives from ground level while heaven sees them from above. You see today's struggle. Heaven sees years of progress. You see the battle that still exists. Heaven sees the battles you have already won. You see the weakness that occasionally appears. Heaven sees the strength that has been quietly developing within you. And this difference in perspective changes everything. Michael says if you could see yourself the way heaven sees you, many of the doubts you've been carrying would immediately lose their power. You would stop questioning whether God is working in your life. You would stop wondering whether your prayers matter. You would stop assuming that slow progress means no progress. Because heaven sees evidence of transformation everywhere. The problem is that growth often becomes invisible to the person experiencing it. Think about someone who sees you every day. They may not notice small changes in your appearance because they happen gradually. But someone who has not seen you for years notices immediately. The same thing happens spiritually. You live with yourself every day. You see your struggles every day. You hear your doubts every day. Because of that, it becomes difficult to recognize how much God has already done within you. But heaven sees it clearly. Michael says heaven sees a person who has survived things that once seemed impossible. You have endured disappointments you never expected. You have carried burdens that few people fully understand. You have faced moments where giving up seemed easier than continuing forward. Yet somehow, through all of it, you kept moving. Not perfectly, not without tears, not without questions, but you kept moving, and that matters more than you realize. One of the reasons God smiled today is because He sees your resilience. Not the kind of resilience the world talks about. Not the key ND that pretends everything is fine. But the quiet resilience that keeps trusting God even when answers are delayed. The quiet resilience that keeps praying even when results are not immediate. The quiet resilience that chooses faith when circumstances offer every reason to choose fear. Michael says heaven has witnessed this resilience in your life again and again. There were moments when you felt exhausted, moments when you felt misunderstood, moments when you wondered whether anyone truly saw what you were carrying. But heaven saw, God saw, and He never stopped walking beside you. Sometimes you think God is most pleased when you feel strong. Michael says that is not always true. There have been days when God was deeply pleased with you simply because you refused to quit. Days when all you could do was take one more step, one more prayer, one more act of faith, one more decision to keep going. Those moments are precious to heaven because they reveal the true condition of your heart. Anyone can trust when everything is working out. Anyone can believe when life feels easy. But continuing to trust during uncertainty requires a different kind of faith. And that faith has been growing within you. Chosen one, Michael wants you to hear this carefully. You are much closer to the person God created you to be than you think. Not because you have reached perfection, but because your heart continues responding to His guidance. Every time you choose forgiveness, you move closer. Every time you choose patience, you move closer. Every time you choose hope instead of despair, you move closer. These decisions may seem small, but together they are shaping your future. That is what heaven sees. A future being formed through countless faithful choices. A stronger spirit emerging from difficult seasons. A wiser heart being developed through experience. A deeper relationship with God being built one day at a time. And that is why heaven is smiling. Not only because of where you are today, but because of where your journey is leading. Michael says your current season is not proof that God has forgotten you. It is proof that He is still working, still shaping, still preparing, still strengthening. And very soon, you will begin to see some of the things heaven has been seeing all along. In the final part of this message, Archangel Michael will reveal heaven's powerful confirmation for your future and the reason God wants you to stop doubting your progress from this day forward. Chosen one, as this message comes to its final moments, Archangel Michael asks you to quiet the noise around you and listen with your heart. Because what you are about to hear is the most important part of this entire message. Throughout this message, you have heard that God is pleased with you. You have heard that heaven noticed something in your heart. You have heard that your growth is real, even when you struggle to see it. But now Michael wants to leave you with a truth that can change the way you walk through every day from this moment forward. Here it is. God's love for you is not based on your performance. His love is not measured by how perfect you are. His love is not dependent on whether you have everything figured out. His love is not earned through flawless behavior. And because of that, His joy over your life is often present long before you believe you deserve it. Many chosen ones spend years waiting to feel worthy before accepting God's love. They tell themselves, when I become stronger, God will be pleased. When I stop struggling, God will be pleased. When I finally get everything right, God will be pleased. But Michael says heaven does not see you that way. God has been loving you through every chapter. He loved you during your strongest days. He loved you during your weakest days. He loved you during seasons of confidence. He loved you during seasons of confusion. He loved you when your faith felt powerful. He loved you when your faith felt fragile. His love never changed, and neither did His desire to see you succeed. Chosen one, there are moments when you have looked at yourself through the lens of disappointment. You have replayed mistakes. You have focused on failures. You have questioned whether you are doing enough. You have wondered if you are moving too slowly. But Michael says God is not standing over your life with a list of reasons to reject you. He is looking at you with compassion, with understanding, with encouragement. Yes, the full story. He knows what you have survived. He knows the battles you never talk about. He knows the wounds you are still healing from. He knows the pressure you carry. He knows the tears that nobody else has seen. He knows the prayers you whispered when you felt alone. And because He knows all of that, His perspective is very different from yours. You judge yourself based on isolated moments. God sees the entire journey. You see one difficult chapter. God sees the whole book. You see temporary struggles. God sees eternal potential. And that is why heaven smiles when you cannot. Michael says there is something else you need to understand. The growth God sees in you today is preparing you for the blessings of tomorrow. Nothing you have gone through has been meaningless. Every lesson has added wisdom. Every challenge has added strength. Every delay has added maturity. Every prayer has deepened your connection with God. Even the seasons that felt empty were accomplishing something behind the scenes. You may not have understood it at the time. You may not have seen immediate results. But heaven was working. God was preparing. Angels were protecting. Doors were being arranged. Lessons were being planted. Foundations were being strengthened. And one day you will look back and realize that what felt like waiting was actually preparation. Michael says many chosen ones are standing closer to breakthrough than they realize. Not because life will suddenly become perfect. Not because every challenge will disappear overnight. But because they are becoming the person God needs them to be for the next season of their journey. And you are one of them. That is why this message reached you. Not merely to encourage you, but to remind you. To remind you that God has not forgotten you. To remind you that heaven sees your efforts. To remind you that your prayers matter. To remind you that your growth matters. To remind you that your faith matters. Most importantly, to remind you that God is genuinely happy with the direction of your heart today. Not tomorrow, not someday in the future. Today, right now, in this moment, the Father sees a person who keeps getting back up. Person who keeps learning. Person who keeps trying. A person who keeps seeking Him. A person who refuses to completely give up even during difficult seasons. And heaven celebrates that. Michael says stop being so harsh with yourself. Stop dismissing every victory because it wasn't perfect. Stop ignoring your progress because you haven't reached the finish line yet. Stop focusing only on what remains undone. Take a moment to recognize what God already sees. A stronger heart, a wiser mind, a deeper faith, a more resilient spirit, a person who has come farther than they realize. Chosen one, heaven is not asking you to be perfect. Heaven is asking you to keep moving forward. One step at a time, one prayer at a time, one act of faith at a time, one day at a time, because those small steps are creating a future greater than you can currently imagine. And Michael wants you to remember this whenever doubt tries to return. God sees you. God knows you. God understands you. God is guiding you. God is strengthening you. And yes, God is happy with you today. So lift your head. Take a deep breath. Release the weight you were never meant to carry alone. And allow yourself to receive this truth. You are loved. You are seen. You are valued. You are growing. You are becoming. And heaven is smiling over your life. May peace fill your heart. May strength fill your spirit. May wisdom guide your path. And may you never forget how precious you are in the eyes of God. If this message spoke to your heart, take a moment right now to let heaven know you received it. Type in the comments, "Thank you, God. I will keep moving forward." And if this message blessed you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss the messages Archangel Michael has for you. May God's peace be with you always. And remember, heaven noticed, heaven celebrated, and God smiled at you today.